Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Gator Gang Network. Make sure y'all like this, share this, and subscribe to the YouTube channel, Gator Gang, as well. Week number 2, after a win versus Ole Miss, now we get a week 2 versus South Carolina and Will Muschamp, and I just think that that's going to be a pretty good game when you look at South Carolina's defense. When you look at South Carolina's offense, I think Florida is going to have their way. But we're just going to see how it is. But Daryl, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing pretty good. Friday night, got a weekend off. I'm excited to get to actually watch the game live this weekend.
Oh, so you actually get to watch the game.
Mm-hmm.
Sweet.
Yes, I'm really excited to get the whole weekend. We're going to go down to some family and set up the trailer because we actually haven't tried it yet. So we're going to set it up, sit outside. It's supposed to be nice and cool up here, and
That's
nice
good.
day, and just chill out and watch some football and kind of tailgate it in the yard somewhere.
That's awesome. Another noon kickoff for the second week in a row, and I'm not really digging the noon kickoff games, but it is what it is. I'm just glad to have some football, and we're first game in the swamp. And not in front of the 90,000 plus usual, but 17,000. I'll take it. It'll be some fans in the stadium, and we got some cardboard cutouts that'll be there as well. So hopefully they can be loud and rowdy too.
Hey, so I think it's going to be louder than people think, man, because I think I've heard that other places are pumping crowd noise in. So
they usually do not allow that. But I think with this year,
I think they are doing it because it was pretty loud. Like at Ole Miss, for instance, it was louder than what the crowd was there. And then there was a couple other games that in the SEC, I think the teams have to agree on how much is allowed to be pumped in. But I think they can pump crowd noise into the game, so it might be louder than people think it is. It's not going to be a full stadium crowd loud, but.
Right.
It might cause some. They still have to travel. You got to travel to Florida, so get off the bus. That's always difficult to do.
Exactly. We got another member of the Gator Gang Network. We got Zach with us tonight. What's up, Zach?
Zach.
What's going on?
Go
fellas?
Gators.
And,
Go Gators.
Good to have you.
Woo.
Those of y'all who are watching, as you notice, we're missing Lucas tonight. He's off with the family. When we always say family over everything, so he won't be with us tonight.
Lucas,
we will mention his score prediction when we get to that moment in the show.
Yeah.
But Zach, you just jumped on talking about the first game in the swamp, it not being the 90,000 plus fans, only 17,000. How loud do you think it's going to be?
Well, I think it's going to be pretty good compared to some of the other schools I've seen around the country. So I think we'll do pretty damn good on that end. But without the 90,000 screaming, you can't beat that. That's why it's called the Swamp, man. It's Ben Hill Griffin Stadium for a reason.
Exactly. It's loud.
I don't know if you seen that quote that I put on there, one of those messaging groups about Gus Malzahn. And how he was talking about the LSU game in a postseason or after the LSU game, and he was comparing crowd noises, and he was saying how he felt that Gainesville was louder than LSU, and that's saying something because they're pretty loud over there in Tiger Stadium.
Oh yeah. I think actually,
that game was at nighttime when they had that game, and
I was at that Auburn game.
That was at 3:30.
I was at that Auburn game at 3:30, and I've heard some loud crowds, like when we played number 3 Ole Miss a few years ago.
Yep,
but that Auburn game, that crowd was pumped from the start, and it was just crazy from the start of the game. So, you're not going to mimic that kind of noise, but
no.
Yeah, you're definitely not going to have that kind of noise, and but like you were saying, Daryl, about the putting the crowd noise in the stadium and agreeing to that, that's definitely going to be interesting of how that works, because it's just not a normal year, but we're making it as normal as it could possibly be. I don't know if y'all seen that they put out a memo today or Wednesday about players and coaches on the sideline making sure they wear their mask or they're gonna have some kind of consequence to it. Not exactly sure what they would do, but it's just it's just not something we're accustomed to when you talk about what's going on in the world of COVID-19.
Yeah, it's definitely something
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah, I agree. Them coaches, they want to be yelling and screaming. They can't do it that damn thing on their face. It is what it is.
Exactly. But it is what it is. But let's talk about the Florida offense. Last week, we put up 51 points against Ole Miss. And, Ole Miss was, at the bottom of the league, and they're dead last in passing defense. But Florida really put it on them. 11 different receivers caught the ball. And I'm looking to see another, swing like that tonight with the offense, starting out the game, going down on the first drive and scoring like we did versus Ole Miss. I'm really looking forward to seeing the same kind of production that we seen last week by the offense. Kyle Trask, looked phenomenal, 416 yards, 6 touchdowns, 4 to our all-star uncoverable tight end Kyle Pitts. Like the Killer Kyle's connection is something that I think is going to be something that Will Muschamp is really going to focus on, during this week of practice leading up to tomorrow's game.
Yeah, I agree. It's just such a mismatch because if you double team Kyle, you got weapons open all over the field.
Yes,
Go Gators.
If you double him, you're going to leave somebody else open. There's 11 different receivers that caught a pass, last week. So the ball is getting distributed. And, another person who I really liked that stepped up and had some amazing catches was Cadarius Toney. I mean, he's still electrifying. And then now he's got a little bit of, pass catching that he can do. So look out for, him as well.
Yeah, get him the ball.
Yeah, he did very well last game. I was very happy with him.
Yep,
he did great.
He's got the cuts. He ain't got the top end speed. But that last year during that Florida State game, he made a cut that was like, whoo. I don't know if y'all seen. Malik Davis put the number that Ole Miss defender number 2 put him on.
Snapped his ankles.
Yeah,
and I was like, oh, that was nasty. So
I do think Malik's
got something.
Yeah, he's the better catcher out of the group, and I think you're going to see a lot of that little slot type stuff with Malik Davis this whole year.
Yeah,
him and Tony.
This is his comeback year, man. He said it. He had to. People forgot about him. That's one of what I listened to in one of the interviews that he's questioned about all that, and now he's back to show him.
We got a loaded backfield, but it looks like we might get loaded even more so. So
that'd be nice. Yeah, I don't.
We got some running backs, and speaking of running backs, I mean Bowman from Clemson entered the transfer portal, and Florida's looking to be a strong target for him to transfer to Florida. So Florida can have a running back room that you can have fresh legs the whole entire game.
Yeah, put them in, rotate them out, coach. Put them in.
Well, which one do you want? You want the one that can catch a pass? You want the one that can bulldoze you over?
Put him in.
What do you want? We got all kinds of styles.
I hope he comes to Florida. I hope he comes to Florida.
Lingard's supposed to be super fast too, right?
Yes.
Yes. For those of you who messaged me and was in regards to Lingard, he is dealing with a sprained ankle right now, and his return is questionable. But hopefully we'll have him back next weekend during the Texas A&M game.
Yeah, we need him.
Yeah. That we need him. But I gotta say, Naquan Wright, I think I'm saying his name right. Naquan Wright, he had some playing time last week, so that was pretty good to see him, get into the rotation a little bit.
What about that the new tight end guy we have? What is his name? Wasn't he a tight end? He's a kind of shorter white guy.
Where's Lucas when we need him?
Talking about what is it? Whitmore?
Whitmore. Yeah. He did really well too.
He's really good. He was really good, and he had some. He was good on the pass blocking too, and that's something from Kyle Pitts. Kyle Pitts said in the post game conference that he, during this offseason, that he really wanted to focus on being a better blocker, and he's definitely done that. Those plays that he didn't catch a pass, he was definitely a part of the completion of that because he was blocking really well.
Yes.
Now, was he a transfer, that guy?
Yes, he was. I believe he was.
I believe he was.
From Penn State,
Yeah.
I think. I don't know. I could be wrong.
Okay.
Where's Lucas?
Yeah, right.
I know. Comment. He knows it all, bro.
Yes.
I know it's Justin Shorter was from Penn State.
Oh, well, maybe that's who I'm thinking about. Maybe that's who it is.
Justin Shorter was from Penn State, 5-star.
That's who I'm thinking of, probably.
So we look at the defensive side of the ball, and we were missing a lot of defenders last week. And Sean Davis got ejected early in the game.
BS call.
We talked about all of that. So this week, we know the Brad Stewart will be back, Sean Davis will be back, Jeremiah Moon will be back. So those are three key players and other notable players that are going to be back in the rotation. Getting some play time here in the swamp. So I look forward to our defense really stepping up and being a hell of a lot better and not giving up over 600 yards, onto a total offense and what was it, like 396 yards passing. We just cannot give that up against South Carolina, and I don't think we will. I think the defense is going to have a chip on their shoulder because of how bad they, were last week. And I know one of the emphasis between Todd Grantham, Dan Mullen, and the coaching staff was tackling.
Yeah.
Wrap up, wait for the team to get there, and just, you got to be better. That's something that from game 1 to game 2, you will always see your biggest improvements. And so how big of improvements from Ole Miss to South Carolina will we see on the defensive end? Daryl, I'm gonna let you have the floor and talk about the defense.
Yeah, so obviously everybody was a little upset about defense. We allowed Ole Miss 38 points or something, 614 yards. Yeah, so obviously defense is a problem. Now, with that being said, Ole Miss could just have a really good offense that we just don't know about yet because it's only one game, and I think that might actually be the case as the season goes on. We'll see. But still, at the end of the day, we have to be able to, tighten those tackles up. We have to cover that. And we did miss some key players. We had to put some players in that wouldn't normally play, which is a good thing because they get some rotation in for whenever we have COVID or injury issues. So I'm excited about that. I will say that we'll probably see some better tackling this week versus South Carolina than what we did last week. So I expect the defense to improve by far compared to last week.
Yeah, before I let Zach jump in, I want to make a little note of what you said about Ole Miss and how great they are. Lane Kiffin is like this offensive genius, and he gets the playmakers the ball in his playmakers' hands, and they're able to do something with it. Ole
Miss will be dangerous in 3 years.
Yeah. Give Lane Kiffin some time to get his style of players on the team, and people that he can build around. And Ole Miss will be, I think this year they're going to be a thorn in the West.
Yep.
Maybe not quite to the magnitude of 2 to 3 years from now, but they're an up and coming team.
Get them a defensive coordinator, and they're going to be, they're coming up.
Yeah, exactly. Go ahead, Zach.
Yeah, I agree that we made a lot of mistakes on defense, and I watched Kyler Elam's post conference thing, and he said he's pissed off, and I hope they show up on Saturday showing that they're pissed off. Let's get some interceptions, let's get some fumbles. Show me you're pissed off. You know what I mean? That's what I'm expecting, and I agree with Daryl too. They're definitely gonna improve. They're going to look at that first game like we can never do that again. So that's a reminder of the rest of the season that they can't look like that. And I'm sure they heard a lot about that in the locker room. I'm sure they got some words that, their way, so
social media, all that stuff.
Exactly.
They heard about it all week.
Hey,
why did you talk to that guy?
Yeah.
So I definitely think they're gonna do a lot better this weekend. At least that's what we're all hoping, right?
I'm sure
Exactly.
we'll
One of
see.
the players that really didn't have a problem tackling was Ventrell Miller. His tackles, I think he had
Oh,
like
man.
13 tackles. That's pretty good for a player to have that many tackles. So I don't think that. I think he'll be hungry too, because he's gonna say, because as you look at it as a whole, the whole defense, didn't
We'll have
tackle
Moon
all.
back, right?
Yep.
We'll have Jeremiah back, Brad Stewart back, Sean Davis back.
Yeah, we got a lot of people back.
So we're going to be looking a whole lot better with having a little more depth throughout the game on the defensive end. So that's definitely going to be something that a key to the game is how well will our defense, play compared to last week, because statistically, South Carolina has a much better defense than Ole Miss. So if we're giving up that kind of yards, what will this week look like? So
Yeah,
we'll see.
South Carolina, and just before we get in too much, South Carolina in that Tennessee game South Carolina was down, and they made some really good plays to come back. It was kind of just a terrible events right there at the end where he touched the ball and Tennessee got it.
Yeah.
But, I mean, they would have had a chance at that point if that wouldn't have happened to drive the ball down again. So, I mean, Tennessee was playing, or South Carolina was playing Tennessee well into the fourth quarter. And I consider Tennessee to be one of the better teams in the East. And right now, I actually think they're better than Georgia.
Yeah. Muschamp.
Just saying. Georgia fans. So if my brother's watching, Tennessee better than Georgia this year.
Shots fired. Will Muschamp is a defensive-minded coach, so his defense, was going to be, on at least as much as you can be on point with the type of talent and recruits that you can get at South Carolina, because I just don't think that, South Carolina, they actually did get the 2021 number one dual threat quarterback, so. Look for South Carolina offensively to be better in a couple years once he gets under the helm.
Yeah, defense has never been a problem for Will Muschamp.
No,
I mean, if you go back to 2012, whenever he was at Florida, our offense was pretty much a run game. I mean, it was just run the ball, run the ball, run the ball. But our defense won a lot of those games in 2012.
Yeah.
So he has really a good defense year after year after year. He just got to get him an offensive coordinator. And his problem is he hasn't found that. And he's tried quite a few, but he's got to get him an offensive coordinator. And if he can do that.
He did the same thing in Florida.
Yeah, I mean, we just went through so many offensive coordinators. It wasn't the defense that was the problem with Will Muschamp. It was quarterback and getting the ball down the field. We can't run the 80s style offense and run the ball every time. It just doesn't work that way. He was a line of scrimmage guy, and he wanted to run the ball the whole time. And
in the trenches, that's where he was really good at. So, you can't help but to know that he was a damn good defensive recruiter.
I wish he could be he'd be a great defensive coordinator, and he has been. Mm-hmm. He has been. So I mean, as far as getting that offensive going, he's got to get somebody in there.
Exactly. So
when do you think? Go ahead. I said, when do you think it's enough of him? You know what I'm saying? When's it enough Muschamp?
At South Carolina, they have a little more leeway, right? I mean, Florida is a national championship program, and if you're not competing for championships and being in national championships, you only got about 3 years and you're out. I mean, if you're not making your progress, you're out. And so that's what happened with McElwain and the same thing with like Alabama and like some of the bigger programs, right? I mean, if you're not winning and competing, eventually you're not going to continue to be the head coach. But I thought Will Muschamp is a good fit for South Carolina because there is a little bit more leeway there, right? I mean, if you can build that program up, they will be a little bit more tolerant. Mm-hmm. But he's got to pull out some big wins. I mean, I hate to say it, but he's got to pull out wins like he would in Gainesville Saturday, right? But he's not going to do that this year.
No. They don't have the team yet Muschamp he's in the building. Wish him nothing, but success. He wasn't a horrible coach. He just couldn't get the offensive side of the ball going for Florida, which is why, like you said, if you're not competing for SEC titles, national championships, then you're out in about 3 years. I mean, we've seen it with Muschamp, 3 years. We've seen it with McElwain, 3 years. Part of McElwain's departure was he did not elaborate on all the death threats and all that. Yeah. He just wanted to push it under the rug, and I get his aspect of what trying to do that, but you don't go in front of the media and say that you're having death threats and whatnot, and then not elaborate on it. You're causing yourself a problem.
Like with Muschamp, and I'm not trying to give him any credit while he was at Florida, but at the end of the day, Muschamp really didn't have that quarterback to get him going, and he couldn't find stability in the offensive coordinating position. Now, McElwain, on the other hand, he had the quarterback at one point in time. I mean, I seen Will Grier play, and I know he got in trouble, but that could have been a quarterback if he would have just stuck his guns and said, "You know what, Will? Get 3 years of suspension and be in there."
Yeah. Isn't Trask one of McElwain's quarterback?
Yes. As a scholarship.
So, but I just feel like McElwain he messed up with Will Grier. He wouldn't guarantee that kid a spot. And I know you can't guarantee people positions whenever things happen. I get that.
I get it.
But come on, at least tell a lie or something.
Don't push him out the door.
Say, you're going to start. And if you don't compete, well, then we don't go there. But Will Grier would have
bullshit him.
He would have been the guy. If he would have done a suspension, he would have been the guy. Look what he did at West Virginia. I mean, he was throwing the ball all over the place. He would have been the guy.
Look what he did in the 6 games with Florida. I mean,
exactly.
Really showed
what Grier could have done. He just, I don't know. That was the biggest mistake. That cost him his job right there. When he let that happen, that cost him.
But what you said about Muschamp, Daryl, you said that at Florida, well, obviously it's what happened, but at Florida he had problems, basically offensive problems, and now it's just carried on. You know what I mean? So if I was looking at it, I was like, this guy has a history of this happening, and how many more years?
He's got to. If he keeps losing in the East, which Florida's obviously on the rise, Georgia's rebuilding, Tennessee's on the rise. I think Kentucky's on the rise too. So I think the East is getting more level with the West, believe it or not.
I was actually going to say
this year, but I think they're getting more level, right?
Yeah.
So if he doesn't start pulling out some big wins, he's not going to last long at South Carolina. But I do think there's a little bit more leniency there.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Out of Florida or a bigger program.
Right. So while we're talking about South Carolina, let's talk about some other games that are going around in the SEC. And we're going to start with the big, huge game between the Auburn Tigers and the Georgia Bulldogs. That game is going to be huge. I'm looking forward to seeing Auburn crush the Bulldogs because I think that's exactly what's going to happen. Yeah. I just think Georgia offensively, when you're playing Arkansas, who's in the bottom 3 of the league last year, and they have a whole new coaching staff this year, so they don't have the chemistry, they don't have the bond with the whole year being this, and then you come into halftime and you're only leading 7-5. There's a Houston, we have a problem. If you're a Georgia fan, that's what you're saying.
Yeah,
big time.
You want to touch more? Because I got a lot to say about this one.
Georgia came in the second half, and they put up 22 points in the third quarter. But it's you got to do that earlier.
Definitely.
The one thing that they did not have last weekend that now they have is JT Daniels, the quarterback. So he's
still a question mark though, man. It's question mark.
But he could be playing. He could not be playing. We'll see.
This first week was determination depending on who was actually going to dominate, in my opinion. And Georgia did not dominate. I mean, the score is very deceiving. They struggled with Arkansas. And I love Franks to death. But they scored first. Frank scored first of all. And it wasn't until the third quarter that Georgia picked it up. And honestly, I think Arkansas just got tired and they just didn't have enough players to compete with Georgia.
They don't have the depth.
If they would have had the depth to compete with Georgia, that game would have been closer. Georgia's, I hate to say it, but Georgia's actually garbage this year. I don't even think they're second in the SEC East. I think they're third or fourth in the SEC East.
You heard it here first, ladies and gentlemen. You
heard it.
Yeah.
Somebody said Tennessee finishes 5-5. I don't believe that. I think Tennessee actually finishes.
Yeah, I've seen that in the chat.
I see that. Tennessee
no
at the
Facebook user.
I actually think Tennessee or Kentucky could be second in the East this year.
Yeah, I agree. Tennessee with their 6-game win streak at the end of the year. Hopefully, if they can carry that momentum going into this year, because like Florida, bringing in the same coaching staff, a lot of the same players, Tennessee is doing that as well. So to look for Tennessee to be up at the top, at least top 3.
Auburn going to kill Georgia this weekend. I'm just telling you right now. I already got Auburn picked. They're at number 5 pick on my ESPN. You count it in your books right now. Auburn going to beat Georgia this week.
I got a half-assed Georgia fan at work, and he thinks they're going to lose too. So
they're going to lose. I mean, if they come out like they did, they can't be the typical Georgia team that comes out in the third quarter and try to win. Auburn's going to score points on them. Auburn is going to get better. Auburn's got the quarterback to get better.
Yeah, they got Bo Nix as their quarterback, and he's pretty good. Last year he was a freshman. This year he's a sophomore, and as a freshman he was good. So as a sophomore, looking to show that improvement.
Yeah, I was actually pretty impressed. I thought Auburn would struggle a little bit more with Kentucky, but Kentucky kind of beat themselves, and I do think that Kentucky got robbed a touchdown in that game, which would have made it closer, but because he was in the goal when they called that touchdown back. But anyway.
Right. So another game, we were just talking about Tennessee. Missouri comes into Neyland Stadium and plays Tennessee. So Missouri, they're not looking good. So I see Tennessee winning this weekend. That's another noon game.
Yeah.
And then you got A&M and Alabama, which is another good matchup, and another a reason why I kind of skipped that Missouri-Tennessee game, because I feel like we're all in agreement that Tennessee is going to
should win that one.
Yeah, they should win that one.
Tennessee is winning that one.
So we'll talk about this A&M and Alabama. Alabama's ranked 2 in the nation. A&M is ranked 13th in the nation. So, Zach, I'm going to start with you. How do you feel about Bama and A&M for week 2?
Oh, I think Alabama's going to come out with the win, but I think it's going to be closer than most people think. I think it's going to be a good contested game. I think it's going to be good. It's going to be a good football game. That's what I think.
I would say if it was in A&M, we could say a little bit more. I mean, I get it. Home field advantage isn't going to mean what it normally means, but it's got to mean something.
I'm going to pull Lee Corso. Not so fast.
I like that.
Not so fast, because A&M.
So why do you say not so fast?
Yeah. So listen, I don't know if I'm lagging. I know you guys started lagging. Can you hear me?
It's lagging altogether. I can hear you, Daryl.
I
think Bobby's lagging.
A&M played a very vanilla offense against in week 1 in that team against Vanderbilt. Okay. So they are going to light up Alabama. It is close, but I think A&M wins that game against Alabama.
No.
I'm calling it right now. It's my number 1 upset of the weekend. A&M wins at Alabama.
No, it ain't happening.
A&M over Alabama. I wouldn't be shocked. I really wouldn't. But let's talk about the next game, because we just played Ole Miss. We've seen what kind of offense they have, and we touched on Kentucky being an up and rising team, and Kentucky's got their quarterback back from his injury last year. So Ole Miss versus Kentucky. How do y'all feel about that one? And Daryl, I'm gonna go with you.
Yeah, I am kind of curious about this. I know we talked a little bit before show, because I really want to see how well Ole Miss really is, and I do believe that Kentucky is a really good team in the East, and I do think that they will finish better than they have in the past. But I'm also thinking that they're not giving Ole Miss enough credit. So obviously, as Florida fans, we want Ole Miss to continue winning. Right. So I'm pulling for Ole Miss in that game. but I wouldn't be shocked if Kentucky pulls out a win. But I do think that Ole Miss is probably better than people think. I think they have an offense that can at least put up points. We know that.
Mm-hmm.
It's whether or not they can stop the other offense. They don't have a defense. So we have to see there. But I do believe that Ole Miss is better, and I do think they'll win.
Yeah, I want Kentucky to lose. They're in the East, and so I think I agree with you, Daryl. I think I'm going to go with exactly kind of what you said. I think that Ole Miss, they got a decent offense, and if they can just keep scoring, they'll win the game.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, obviously you got to put up a little bit of defense, but yeah, I'm a little biased. I want Kentucky to lose as well because they're in the East, so I'm going for Ole Miss.
Exactly, and unfortunately, you want all the teams that you play on your schedule. You want them to win, but with this year being all SEC, it's not going to happen the way it normally does. So, we can say what we want, who we want to win, but I look at it as either the Florida Texas A&M game next weekend in A&M. It's either going to be a noon kickoff or a 3:30 kickoff, and that's going to determine rather this Alabama A&M game. If A&M can get the win over Alabama, it'll be a 3:30 kickoff. If Alabama wins over A&M, it'll be a noon kickoff. So we really got to pull for A&M to
get that
3:30.
I got to work that weekend. Definitely pull for A&M.
So
I'd rather A&M win.
The next thing, Arkansas, Mississippi State. I'm pretty sure we got Mississippi State.
Mississippi State looking good.
Yeah, they're looking
good. They're going to be the dark horse in the West, I think.
I didn't even think about them with Mike. I think it's Mike Leach from Washington, and I know they didn't really stop LSU, but I mean, he's another offensive guru, and he's going to compete. So he could be a dark horse in the West for sure. So I'm kind of changing my predictions a little bit. I think Mississippi State could actually get a lot higher in the West than what I previously thought.
Exactly. And then we got LSU and Vanderbilt. And A&M barely beat Vanderbilt 17-12 last week. So when you look at this LSU versus Vanderbilt, and Mississippi State absolutely dominated LSU. LSU's defense looks suspect. Like the LSU's defense didn't even look like an SEC defense. So that game, I think LSU Vanderbilt. When you talk about last year coming into this year, you're thinking that defending national champs, they're going to come into this game and they're going to dominate Vanderbilt, but not so fast. This game could be a lot closer than expected.
Yeah, Vanderbilt, they're just one of them teams that they just sneak up and beat you.
Yeah.
But I do think LSU will win. I don't understand why that's the late game, but it is what it is. I guess it's because it's LSU.
Yeah, I think the first 2 weeks were kind of preset before the season started. So I think that's why they get that late game. But then again, you're right. Why Vanderbilt? Why isn't a team like Alabama A&M? Why isn't that a late game? But then again, you do have the other late game, which is your Auburn and Georgia game at 7:30. So
right,
that's kind of your late game bracket. Yeah. So let's get into our score predictions, and I'm gonna start with Lucas's first because Lucas says 38-14. And usually, me and Lucas, I don't know, we haven't even talked about our scores off camera, in text, nothing. But our scores are always close, like all the time. But Lucas has got 38-14, and I got 38-17. So, like I said, it's real close.
You want me to go?
Who's going next? Yeah, go ahead, Daryl. Go ahead.
All right, so look, I did not think that we'd put up 51 points, and I do know that we're going to face a better defense against South Carolina. But I also know we're coming home to the swamp. I'm actually going to go big. I'm going to say 48-21.
48-20. All right. I like it. I like it.
Yeah,
If
mine's
you
gonna be actually.
have offensively
Sorry.
and have that power, yes, well, I think it's very possible.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah,
Zach.
I think mine's kind of close to Lucas's and yours. I was going. I'm shooting for 40-10,
40 to 10.
and I think 40 is gonna be the minimum. So it could be possibly higher for sure.
Come on, put your picks in. Come over here.
Sweet.
Who's going to win?
Gators.
Who?
Gators.
Who?
Gators.
All right. Gators going to win. It's already been put in
Yeah.
your book.
Oh, there we go.
That's right.
I like it. I like it. So yeah, with our scores now in the books, y'all drop a comment and let us know, your score predictions, and we'll see what happens. I mean, we're an early game, so we'll see.
So look, one person did comment, and I do agree with this in a sense. And I really used to just focus on Florida. Yeah, he pulled it up. Okay, so look, I am only concerned about the Gators at the end of the day. But I will comment on that comment. It's a win-loss column at the end of the day. So, you don't necessarily want everybody to lose, like, the Georgias and the Tennessees, because you want them to be good. But this year, especially with the 10-game SEC schedule, we do want them to lose because I do feel like there's a possibility that Florida could take a loss at some point. I don't know when, but at some point. And we want to be in the lead of that. So we want to be in the SEC championship game. So, yes, focus on Florida. Focus on one game at a time. If we win them all, it doesn't matter. But it does kind of matter who loses and wins. And so we do have to kind of look at that a little bit and hope here and there. I'll give you an example of that because I think it was one of the year that McElwain won, and we had to replay LSU at the end of the year after Hurricane Michael had hit or something. We had to win that game. If we wouldn't have won that game, I think it would have been Tennessee that would have went to the championship. So it matters. It does matter. You don't. Tennessee was rooting for LSU that day. So,
all the Tennessee fans were definitely LSU fans because if they would have,
we stopped them on the goal line and we ended up playing Alabama. Now we got beat, but we did win the East, and I thought that was a pretty big deal at the time because we hadn't won the East in a while.
Right. The last time we had went was in 2009. So when you go from 2009 and then you get to 2015 and 2016, where you're going back-to-back years of getting to the championship game, you're taking steps in that direction, and then you kind of hit and then go 4-7.
I'll be there in a minute.
Got Dan Mullen. So when you look at like you said, when you look at these teams. Yeah, you want to focus on the Gators. But,
yes.
Throughout the season, when you get to the end of the year, you kind of need things to go your way. If you lose a game, you don't control your own destiny. So you kind of got to be a pickup fan of another team for a weekend.
So, like for instance, I kind of knew that Tennessee was going to win. I picked Tennessee to win. But don't get me wrong, I was dang sure pulling for South Carolina to win because that would have given Kentucky and Tennessee a loss, and then we would have played South Carolina this weekend. We would have won. That would have given the top three, other than Georgia, a loss, and I think Georgia loses this weekend. So, Florida would have definitely been in the top running because Georgia still got to play Alabama. So I think Georgia loses the next two games, honestly. Yeah. Florida's definitely in the lead with Tennessee at this point, come after this Saturday, I guarantee it.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And then we play Tennessee the very last game of the season, which is not normal at all. Usually they're the second or third game.
I was supposed to be in Tennessee last weekend tailgating, so.
Right. So we're running a little late on our time, so we're going to let y'all go. But
hold on. What's your son's name?
It's Bryson, yeah.
So my little is Bryson. You want to bring him on camera? Bring him on camera. He's okay.
He's their TV shut off, so they're out here busting on me trying to get their TV back on.
We love kids. My youngest is named Bryson.
That's
So that's
awesome.
Yeah,
funny.
he's 2. He just turned
So
2 a couple months ago.
my youngest will be 2 in January.
Nice.
So, and then my
It's crazy.
oldest
Time flies, buddy.
It does fly. So, all right. Hey, look, I'm just sorry. That was just a side thing.
No, you're good. He's just they're all bombing right now.
Time does fly, and so does the podcast. And hopefully, time will fly tonight. So when we get up bright and early and get ready for the game, Daryl, I know you're going to be doing your tailgating, so I know you're going to be up probably a lot earlier than everybody else.
That's right. Get it!
But we'll get to see what we look like in the swamp. It won't be normal as ever, but when we play in the swamp, only Gators get out alive. So we got to come away with the win.
That's right.
Go Gators.
Go Gators.
So as we always say on the show, if you ain't a Gator, you must be Gator bait.
Gator bait.
Gator bait. Chomp chomp.